Funny. Okay. So, hey guys, welcome to the 0 Point Masterclass slash overview. We're just going to go through the course and all of its bullets and briefly explain. Jovan will briefly explain it, and I will be here to kind of just guide it and ask any questions that might come up for myself. And then, obviously, for a full in depth explanation, make sure you check out the full course. Like I said, my name is AJ. And this is Jovan. Jovan, if you want to introduce yourself.
Hey guys, nothing much. I'm just a human in this human experience. So my name is Jovan. Um, and in this role that I'm playing right here, right now with Anthony, you can consider me to be a meditation teacher.
Yeah, awesome. So the 0 Point Essentials course, can you give me a brief introduction to what that is?
Okay, I'll start by explaining the 0 point. There is quite a few different terms. The one that we use on Avatar Academy is 0 point. Basically, 0 point would be the experience of yourself without dimensions. When you wouldn't have depth, width, or height, you're coming into a subdimensional space. That is also called the 0 point. Over
So
there, you
basically,
exist
without your body.
without your body, but also without your physical body. You could be having experiences of different reality constructs. With 0 point, we're talking about there is no reality construct, there is just you. So, what are you then when you have no dimension, shape, or form? Is basically the foundation of reality or the purest form of your being. That is transcendent to any reality construct, shape, or form, and interestingly has no volume. So this is what we refer to as 0 point.
Awesome. And what is what's the power of the 0 Point? What is it? Why is it? How is it? How is it useful? What is it? What does it do?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you. That's a very interesting question. The power of the 0 point is, from the human perspective, is knowing yourself, because here we are very immersed in this reality construct and we experience ourselves as individuals. So we have to remember from a human perspective that we are also in this 0 point where we are ultimately transcendent of this whole human experience as well as any other experience altogether. And then the power of the 0 point in correlation or coherence to human experience is basically finding this foundation of reality and the foundation of your being and remaining centered there. Well, I could say overall you start to experience a lot of different magical, let's say magical components to this human experience when you're gravitating in the 0 point. For example, people talk about manifestation. You can't really do manifestation from any dimension, like mentally, emotionally, if you're not integrating with a 0 point. Timelines or reality constructs will not shift. So whenever we do experience something that goes like manifestation, is because we are the consciousness projected from the 0 point, and the whole reality construct when I'm human in this screen of life is happening within this consciousness that is projected from the baseline. So when you're in the anchor, when you're in the foundation of reality, you can experience much more fluid reality, if that makes sense.
Yes, it makes a lot of sense. So basically, what you're also saying is that we're not manifesting in particular, like Jovan is not manifesting something or AJ is not manifesting something. What we're actually doing is we're anchoring into the 0 point, which then allows the manifestation to
Yes, it has
come,
to
right?
be the will. It has to be the will of your being that is coming from this innermost self, because manifestation requires this whole reality construct to change itself, and you as a person, as a body, you are within the reality construct, but your innermost being in the 0 point, subdimensional, it's completely outside. It's sort of enveloping this whole reality construct. So when you move your will from your centeredness, then you're powerful in your reality. In a sense, also, you're all knowing and omnipresent. People will also call this to be a genius. If you move from this center of your being, then somehow the infinite universal quantum entangled intelligence moves together with you, and all of a sudden, whatever you're doing, you're becoming the genius of that. Maybe genius of poetry, genius of piano, genius of art, genius of whatever you're tapping in and doing with your little first person immersion here. In
Cool.
that sense, it's quite powerful to be anchored in this foundation of reality.
So when people are meditating or people who meditate frequently and they find that feeling that meditation provides, is this essentially what they're doing? Anchoring into the 0 point?
Perhaps the feeling that comes is called nirvana. So this quality of being that's connected to this 0 point, when you experience nothing, nothing of a reality construct. This feeling is called nirvana. Now, many people meditate to reach the state of nirvana. And if you just close your eyes and start relaxing, you might be experiencing a lot of sensations in your mind, body. So there is an actually shortcut that we do, and you did it with me, this guided meditation that we do on Avatar Academies. It's how to bridge into the 0 point where you can connect, because you're all the time already there in the state of nirvana.
We're always in the 0 point, you're saying?
Yeah, that's the absolute place.
Okay, so let's move on to creating a 0 point foundation. And the first aspect of that is preparing for the energy shift. What do you mean by that? What how do we prepare and what energy shift is occurring?
Okay, so when we are in the human experience, we can create many types of perspectives that are not in coherence and in alignment with ourselves on the foundational level, and then throughout the layers of this reality. When I say layers, it means that we have physical body, emotional body, mental body. So on any level of interpretation of reality, we may become discongruent. We're simply so flexible with our own free will and how we want to interpret things that on a human level we can create many glitches, so to say. Now, if we are going to dive into the 0 point and using our methodologies, this might start to give us a surge of energy, because when connecting back with this foundational space of our own being, all of the subsequent layers in this reality construct are going to start to experience a powerful harmonization. And preparing for this simply means a few things. That we want to know that if the energetic excitement starts to be experienced throughout our bodies, or feelings, or subconscious, or like thoughts rushing, whatever happens, some pranic activity on any layer of our here body mind, we want to first find the understanding and the anchoring that this whole construct of reality, where we are human, is relative, and that this is not actually us on a fundamental level, that this is just a projection of us that we're having.
Right.
So we want to go to that deeper transcendental level in a way to first confirm that everything that is maybe cringy, spooky, or scary or anxious in the human projection is completely fine, and we can find a sense of supreme peace and relaxation on the foundational level. In this way, whatever happens on an energetic level, like quantum shifting or realigning, harmonization, we can experience from a very comfortable perspective, the innermost self. Right. Yes, rather than being agitated or anxious or having like panic attacks or something else that can occur.
Yeah. Right. So I'm just gonna grab a pencil, and there it is. So basically, the energy shift that occurs is a harmonization, and it's uh, it is recommended to prepare for that energy shift and the energetic excitement that might happen, instead of being like just thrown into a very um, it's like finding out tomorrow that you have to move your house, everything in your house, to a whole new house. It's like, okay, well, I'd rather have a little bit of time to prepare for the move, and maybe a week or more, instead of just having to pack up everything tonight and move out. So you're just preparing for that harmonization to happen.
Exactly. And the first touch point with that is preparing your mind to understand I don't really exist. Or in a sense, everything is a holographic projection. This is not really real, so I can also accept whatever transformation comes as what people call ego death or operating system update. I can allow that and experience that from a space of comfort rather than freaking out.
Right. And that, like you mentioned, anchoring into the 0 point. So that's in order to prepare for the energy shift, you anchor into the 0 point. Can you explain what exactly that means and how to do that, or not fully explain? Like, obviously, if it goes into more detail inside the whole full course. So just give me a preview of anchoring into the 0 point and honoring this energetic exchange.
Mm-hmm. So what we do, and when we do sessions, it is bringing the awareness that is here projected into the depth, width, and height of this experience. We're going to bring it back into the innermost center of our being, and then we're going from there to build an understanding: who am I if I collapse the reality into a dot? And then we're going to build an understanding that, okay, I'm there, and like everything is completely fine. And so we then create a little distance between what we experience on a daily basis in a human experience, and we build in compassion and comic relief to whatever things happen in here, like life, death, all the drama in between. It can be sometimes feelings of anguish or whatever. So we want to transcend, but to know that we are already in that transcendent place where we can take everything that's happening to us in a human first person immersion with some lightness. And then we want to expand that profound peace or nirvana, the state of nirvana. We want to expand that state so we can be relaxed, already experiencing this gentleness, and then start to harmonize and troubleshoot whatever's happening here in the first person immersion. And then we can do many things that in a way more effortless way, in a way more effortless manner.
Cool. So I think you touched on it a little bit. Um, I forgot exactly what you said, but the next bullet I have is creating points of balance, and I think you touched on that just a little bit. Like, I guess is that like obviously like my name is still going to be Anthony, so is that a point of balance, or what do you mean by points of balance?
Okay. Like explain to my own example. When I did this meditation, nobody guided me. I had no supervision, and I went into the 0 point. But then also the reality construct it dissolved into nothing, and so I stayed there outside of time. But in my human life, some time passed, like a year or two. But my mind blanked out, and my subconscious desires or whatever drives you daily, it all dissolved. And without supervision, I ended up just being a plant human without any sense of identity. Yeah, more like a cactus or something like this, right? And so the way we want to do it is be able to come into the now and be fully immersed in our chosen identity, also knowing that we can go into nothing where there's no construct of identity, there's no construct of reality. When we go into 0 point, we can create an intention that shifts our timeline, shifts our identity, shifts our reality on a human level. These are called quantum jumps or quantum shifts, like going into a parallel version of reality where you change, and then you can direct your movie, so you can change.
So so
But
essentially,
you mhm.
so essentially, I'm not. This identity is not quantum shifting. What's actually happening is I'm going back into the 0 point and just creating a whole new identity slash reality.
You have to understand that this reality construct and your identity are a solidified projection of the imagination of you as pure consciousness. So you can change this projection from the foundational level, and this can change the way that you feel. This can change your memories. You see what I mean? This can completely shift your timeline, or you can stay anchored in any chosen timeline. So a lot of people in spiritual discourse of the ages before us, they had this interesting saying. So they say, before enlightenment, chop wood, carry water, and then after enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. What this means is the anchor point. Remain grounded in this identity. Do not lose yourself with this realization, I'm pure consciousness. Today, a lot of people talk about timeline shifting, because there's also ability for you to remain chop wood, carry water, but you can go and become a pizza maestro or pizza chef, yes?
Right.
Because in the modern day and age, we usually have few different careers, few different deep relationships throughout the course of our life. So we are able to, yes, shift the identity that we have.
So the points of balance is the chopped wood and water.
Exactly.
Chopped wood holds water. And to just like reiterate that, it would mean you're you remain the identity that you are and slowly shift it. Is that what you're saying? So that you don't become just a plant without a full or any sort of identity?
You can choose to do whatever you want with it, because on a foundational level of reality, there are no even rules.
I'm saying like for
So
like
I
you
will,
know, on a
yeah, I will
practical
give you an example.
level, like I have two kids, right? I can't if I go back into the 0 point and just change my identity, am I still going to be their father?
If you anchor in that and show up consistently in that role, then you will also, your synaptic flow, we're going to maintain the role, your energetic memory, going to maintain the role. If you choose to be, for example, Christian Bale, the actor, he transforms into many movie roles and then he anchors back into Christian Bale who chops wood and carries water, whatever, but then he becomes the Batman or some other guys. He drastically changes the character, and this is done through method acting, but also you could say it's done through quantum shifting.
Right, and that's
So it,
Jim
mhm.
Jim Carrey does the same thing, and he's even public about it, right?
Yes.
Like
So
Jim
if
Carrey
you
says
decide to have,
he plays. I'm saying Jim Carrey plays all these roles, and then he realized that he was also playing Jim Carrey, and that he is none of the roles.
I love that. Yes.
Yeah,
Yes. If you
but
decide to be,
Jim Carrey was his anchor for the other roles, and then you understand that you're also creating the Jim Carrey that is playing all these roles. I'm creating the person that is an actor. I'm creating the person that is a hockey player. I'm creating the person that is the podcaster. And my
I love
anchor
that.
is the person, and the anchor is the person who's doing all of it. So it's
Okay.
just like you said, there's layers.
Can be. You could stick with just one very grounded, very looping identity. You can choose to create many, or you can have none. So it's just about what you choose, how you choose to play this game of life.
Right. And that goes perfectly into the next bullet, which is crafting a vision, formula, and frameworks. Is that essentially what you're saying by having, like I could, what you just said, you get to choose um, whether you want the same solidified role replaying over and over again, or you want to have different roles, such as, hey, I'm a chef at night, and then during the day I'm a Uber driver, and then
Um, it's a
is that
little
what you
bit
mean
more.
by?
It's a little bit more, and we can do a huge program just on this one. But to encapsulate it briefly, when you understand that the whole reality is malleable and that you can be, whatever, like Steve Jobs or whoever excelled in whatever they did, right? You can create frameworks or formulas where you write out what you want to happen, and all of this will create a timeline for you to play in this movie or game of life. And then you can get deliberate and detailed with it as much as you want. So when I talk about frameworks or formulas, it's basically, imagine, like, some people do this. You create a mood board or a life book of how you want to live your life, and that plays out. This gets to be really fun when you understand that really your persona and your avatar and your timeline are all made of pixels of your imagination. And when you
Right.
start to write it out, when you start to formulate it, the pixels of reality start to dance and vibrate in a different mood. So then you have a lot of authorship,
Hmm. And that's like
quite a
Joe
lot.
Dispenza. That's exactly what Joe Dispenza does. Do you know who Joe Dispenza is?
Uh, I do know who Joe Dispenza is.
I'm
Do you
saying
know
he
who? Mhm.
what he does is at his seminars and his retreats, he has the people create a mind movie, which is essentially just like a future idea slash vision of their life that they want to live, and he has them watch it, look at a kaleidoscope, and then do a meditation to where they're going into the void, or he literally calls it the quantum field or infinite possibilities, and then he has them tap into this idea, this imagined future that they want, feel it, etc. So basically, you could do that. You could be very specific with what you want to write out in and put it down.
Yes, and you can use many methodologies to do this. So certainly what Joy is doing right there, they're envisioning a timeline and they're walking into that on a subtle level. You're walking in your imagination into the timeline, you're anchoring into that timeline. Formulation goes a little bit, it's crazier. Like you can go into map editor of this reality and like move buildings or move mountains. It's it's endless possibilities. Whatever you can imagine, it's doable. And I'll
And and stop there, because obviously it starts with imagining a better life and the things you're currently struggling with, imagining those things to be corrected and fixed first, and obviously then from there we can expand into the more possibilities that you're talking about. But for the average person doing this, it would be to start with imagining the life that you want to live, where you want to live, the career you want to live, or just that sort of the health you want to have, starting with the basics before we get into moving buildings and mountains.
Of course. And for the listener that is on the path of just wanting to have a nicer experience in this life, yes, this goes absolutely with accepting completely the current version of reality, instead of having the contrast where something irritates you and then you want to move into something better. This is what moves you in a physical sense, or in objective reality. This is how we move. We don't like something, we go away from that, we move into this other. On alchemical level, we absolutely contain whatever it is that we are irritated with and love it, so we can see it to be just a holographic projection of our consciousness, and then we can change it effortlessly.
So, to put that in practical human words that someone who's listening might understand, that would be, instead of hating your body and resisting it and saying, I don't want this, I want a muscular body, I want a better body, you actually love it and see it as a holographic projection of your consciousness, and then you can easily shift into a more or whatever body you want, muscular or whatever it is, instead of hating the way you look and and fighting against it and creating all this extra nonsense. You
Yes,
effortlessly
the
change the body
yes,
through entering the 0 point and changing the projection of your imagined self, body,
yes,
avatar.
yes, yes. I would say exactly like that. I might add that you, in the foundation of reality, in the 0 point, you're effortlessly projecting reality, and whatever shift needs to happen in this reality, you're completely relaxed. You're nothing. You're just conscious. You're not doing stuff. So your will emanates a different projection of reality, and the physical reality might need. Sometimes it's like things manifest depending on the frequency that you're experiencing. Sometimes things are just changing, shifting immediately in front of you, like the physical reality wouldn't even be condensed, but it's fluid, and you can see like shifts, literally like you're changing pixels on the screen when you relax and you're viewing anchored in the 0 point. Sometimes the physical reality needs a little bit time to catch up. If it's harmonizing something, okay, if it has been like some distortion, and then it needs to empty out your mind, your subconscious energetic memory, but you just allow the process, and there's no effort to you. Literally to the degree that you could just sit and observe without taking any action.
It's
things will
funny.
change.
They, yeah, it's funny because that what I just thought of, which is he's a hockey player. His name is Alexander Ovechkin, and it's so funny that some of these best players, like they don't, like a lot of players are full on speed. You know, they're trying really hard, and then some of them are just kind of just gliding around and sort of just observing the play, and they're just like watching, and then the puck comes to them and they do something miraculous, right? And that is exactly what you're saying. It's like they're not trying to score, they're just observing and aligning themselves to the what do you think they're are they thinking, are they observing when they're out there? Like for in this particular example, is he like thinking, or is he just kind of watching and tapping his energy into effortlessness, and then the puck just comes to him and he scores? Is that what's happening?
Some people are naturally grounded, yeah, like this in the Tao, like in this effortless way of doing things. And certainly, we all experience these days when we're in the flow. Most of the time, we humans as a collective, we're the victims of our own complications.
Yeah.
And then the whole society works in like super complex ways, and like it we like to forget that things can be effortless and get caught up in this, because what I'm saying is we're all this one super powerful being. You can call it like the universe or God or whatever that is, right? So it would be natural for us to actually everybody being in this state of oneness with nature and just be able to shapeshift reality with our mind.
Well, isn't
But
that
it's
where we're
kind of
going
like
in terms of like the new
it's
earth?
where we are returning because we are purposefully going into a
Sorry.
place of like lower
That's just
consciousness, or we purposefully go into this theater where we forget that we can do that, and then we're like there tripping balls. And so the humanity is like everybody's on acid and we call it normal, and then when we take acid, for example, we call it like, oh, he's an altered state of being. No, actually, our normality is a very altered state of our normal way of being, where you would like understand every second of your day, I'm dreaming this reality, and you would just be clicking the remote control and changing things in your reality effortlessly. We are grinding the physical brick and mortar, and we're like
yeah.
we have to go ways in order to achieve.
And now, is that, I guess, which is just that is aligning to our own ideas and ways of how things should work instead of aligning with the universal flow as mentioned in the course, right?
Well, we are aligning to the ideas of, first of all, society and our ancestors, which is also just us from having many perspectives and creating ways we do things in certain fashion that become a habit, then they become a culture. So we inherit what we built before, and we share that experience. So when you're born in this game, when you incarnate or when you come into the server of Earth, people tell you how it is, and then you start to internalize that. This is how you learn.
Would would you consider that an energy block? As we're just going to move on to the next thing, it's like in the course, it's clearing energy blocks. Would you consider that to be an energy block? The ideas that I picked up from my father and mother of how money works, is that an energy block essentially,
Um, well,
or would you, or are you referring to something?
if you were lucky enough to have parents that are like, hey, you know what? You are the creator of your own reality. Whatever you imagine becomes real. let's play and you express yourself and like let's create stuff through games, then no, then you have like an intuitive way around reality. But if you're conditioned by the ancestral
Well, so
belief that there's a lack and you can't and you mustn't and you need and you must, that becomes sort of what we call conditioning, and it is a like a program that does not, it kind of masks this persona then that is conditioned. It masks your real consciousness, it masks your real presence.
so what do you mean? What do you mean by activating intuition and intention?
So I would say this in this way: anchoring in the 0 point, as mentioned, and we will go into that in depth if you come and join our program. So you find the center point, as I said, innermost being. When you anchor, then you learn how to emanate your will from there, and you will start to feel that you can invoke any quality. Previously, you said something about quantum sphere. That would be the vacuum where there is no vibration, and this vacuum is just empty space. Do
Right.
you agree? So
Yes.
if you start to invoke a quality from the will of this self in the 0 point, you start to reverberate whatever quality through this space. This is how you create reality. This is how you can reverberate yourself. Your voice right now should come from the 0 point. And then your voice becomes the authorship and the command to your reality, how it shapes, right? Words are magic. Words that are coming from, I don't know, I'm not sure, like from this identity where I'm disconnected. And I see this a lot of times. People repeat, we repeat to ourselves and sometimes to each other, oh, only if I could, but I don't have the power. I wish my life was like that, but I can't. So we're not really grounded in our own will. You see what I mean? When the words reverberate
Hmm.
from
Hmm.
who
I
you
need to
are
feel that.
in the core, your words move mountains.
Right.
You see?
Yeah.
That's the thing.
And I think so. Just two things about that. Um, just from my own experience, my my blockages to experiencing that is just anxiety and stress. That I'm in such a we're in such a quick paced mode that we're not able to go back into that center and speak from a place of authority or ownership, right? And we're caught up in everybody else's ideas about how things will work, so we don't come from that place inside of us, right? And that's just what I think society in general is experiencing. They lost touch with that authorship.
I agree. But here's the thing. At one point, you need to unplug. We say unplug from the matrix, yeah? Because you will realize that people who are rushing and they're off center and they're creating societies and whatnot, right? They're just having like this 180 view. Like what you see in front of yourself is only the appearance of reality. You don't see behind yourself 360 view. I'm projecting the appearance.
Hmm.
So their ways will be always trying to grasp on the next thing that reality has, and there are always some neuroses with that. When you understand that the sense of wholeness is projected, and any quality of being is projected from the center of you start to be more mindful about where your attention goes. Trying to remain centered there, whatever you do, things flow effortlessly. and you can invoke any quality or any feeling to your enjoyment. So you start to color the movie of life with the feelings that you like experiencing, rather than only corresponding with the outside world, where the outside world gives you impressions and you need something in the outside to make you joyful or miserable.
Yeah.
You project
Cool.
any quality.
That's beautiful and
It's
powerful.
cool that we have this authorship, yeah.
Yeah. I think it's almost overwhelming, to be honest with you. Or it could be overwhelming if you're not, if you're learning to hone in that attention, like you said, on specific things, and maintaining a focus enough for it to build into something. For example, a business, you have to hone that attention consistently and maintain it, instead of saying, I want to do this business, I want to do this business, I want to do this business. You have to pick one and maintain that feeling of that one business until maybe it develops into something, and then you could branch out. But to get something
For
going, you have to.
mm, maybe, maybe, and I agree with you. I don't disagree with you, but there are other options there. But what I think is more important to mention is, like you said, almost like this authority is overwhelming and I can feel anxious. Like something. So this is where I said in the beginning of this transmission, something's gonna start to shift inside of you that is not in harmony of who you are. This is where anxiety comes from. Now, if you remember, I said also the way to tackle this anxiety is say, okay, I have a costume that of distortion or conditioning. They started to get harmonized when I am centered in myself. As I experience these energetics, I may term or brand that to be anxiety. But if I really relax into myself, I can say it's all tickles and invite the mood of tickles or giggles or whatever, even sexiness or just something smoother. And then you experience the whole thing being liquefied, flowy. So you can reinterpret something that feels anxious as something that feels smooth and
That's
even,
exciting.
yes,
It's like saying,
definitely feel.
I'm nervous for this game, I'm excited for this game. And really
Exactly.
understanding, instead of, like, I guess to do that, you have to feel whatever it is you're feeling without labeling it, and then put a label on top of it. Cool. So the last point in that little segment was connecting to universal flow. Um, did we talk about that, or do you want to move on to the next little thing we have here?
I feel it's gonna be too much for this transmission if you get into that specifically. Maybe
So if you want
it's
to learn
also
more about aligning to universal flow, then come join us. So the next little thing that we have here is becoming a powerful creator, holding sacred space. What do you mean by that?
holding space for yourself and in relationships is really being the innermost self. You will find out this other thing, this your consciousness is projected and your consciousness becomes the space. The depth, width, and height of this experience is made from your projected consciousness. Space and consciousness are one. So to make this really simple, if I have you in my presence right now, first of all, I'm holding my reality, my room, my body, my mind, my thoughts, in the presence of who I am in the baseline, in the zero, in the foundation, but then also the space where I'm meeting you in this construct of reality, in this human experience. I want to encapsulate both of us
Wow. That's powerful.
into this presence, and then guess what? Where does your presence come from?
Your consciousness.
Yes, but it comes from the very same baseline of reality, because on the
Source
zero
of my
level,
consciousness. So we're the same thing
yeah,
right. And what's even so to put that into words, it's not you're not in the present moment. You are the present moment, and that means that you are AJ and Jovan at the same time.
you are what is experienced. To be just more precise, you
Yeah,
are what is experiencing AJ and Jovan, but these are individuals, yes. But you're
and
holding
you could.
space. You are holding space in which these two individuals. So this is a sacred space. These two individuals now exist within me. My personal individual, Jovan, and this other individual that is not personal to me, this you. But I am also what encapsulates both.
So you are Jovan. In my personal example, Jovan is a projection of my consciousness.
Both Anthony and Jovan are projections of one consciousness, yes.
And we are that at the source of our level. I am that consciousness.
At the 0 point level, you are that consciousness.
So now then, so now if somebody is theoretically watching this, or they are watching this, wouldn't that mean that they and we are also that person is one with us as well, and that person is whoever's listening to this is also connected to, or yeah, is also connected to that universal the 0 point consciousness field.
As I've said, always, we're always there. On the ground level, on the foundation. Everybody always there. But we might get a little bit more tilted in, a little bit more zoomed in into this first person immersion, and even like lose that
Right.
and just
That
operate in the
perspective.
circumference of this reality,
It's just
licking, touching,
AJ.
smelling, yeah, being yourself in the human form. Nothing wrong with that though.
Well, is it good to go back and forth?
Yeah, as I
Or,
said,
or
everything starts to harmonize automatically. And you can really have your will and your creatorship, your authorship, if you're connecting with that. So you want to be licking, touching, smelling first person fully, but also being transcendent of it all at the same time, if that makes sense.
right. Which I was gonna mention. Um, so yeah, and just to bring back Joe Dispenza, he mentions how, and a lot of other sources that I've read mention you. So you're basically you are someone, AJ slash Jovan, and then you become no one in the field of 0 point, and then you
No
become
one in
everyone,
particular.
and then you become everyone.
True. Yeah, I agree.
So
I
you
mean,
go
that's it.
from nobody, you go from somebody to nobody to everybody.
Yeah, it's like I'm this one, and then I'm no one in particular. So that's a global, what we call also in Avatar Kenya, that's a global. Where in India, philosophers call this Brahman, okay, or we can call it the one self, the big self, that is no one in particular. And it's also funny because that self that is also witnessing everyone in particular. This is why we say you're omniscient, because you're the seer of everybody's individual experience everywhere, in all time spaces and reality constructs. And this is where the genius comes from, because you're streamlining into your human experience from that space. So you're all knowing practically. You're all
Right.
seeing.
And just like on a more on a more um, on a level that is a little more talked about, and maybe people don't realize what's happening, is that when somebody considers themselves to be like an empath or someone of that sort, what they're doing is actually tapping into this source and feeling the other person's, putting themselves through the perspective of another person. Is that
Exactly.
would you say, like, that's what empaths, that when someone considers themselves an empath, what they're actually doing is letting go of their own identity and tapping into the higher perspective and feeling somebody else's.
Uh-huh. So it's a big thing, and I will just mention here briefly, but also in a simple way. We have juxtaposition of empaths versus narcissists, and these are basically so people who will be only in their agenda without this ability to feel into other. They would start to develop this, and we can do it too. If I start to speak and I'm just
Wait,
focused.
so the opposite of a empath and the juxtaposition is a narcissist?
Generally speaking, yeah, this is a big theme in the society,
Like,
yes,
I'm
and
saying, is that
universally.
like and that's the juxtaposition of each of them?
Yeah, and but what we want to know here is like you want to feel the space that contains the other and yourself, but then also you want to be yourself,
So
not
that's
just
essentially balancing out being an empath and a narcissist.
really, yes, being fully yourself, fully your own individuality with compassion, consideration for the other at the same time, and also being the space and the conscious that envelops all of that. That's the
So,
balance.
wow. That's powerful.
Yeah, because
Um,
being just an empath, it's not really healthy, especially in the world where people have more narcissistic tendency that you're just gonna get exploited all the
and that's
time.
right, and that's exactly why a lot of empaths who consider themselves empaths suffer or are feel that they don't have, like, they need to set more boundaries. It's because they're not accessing the juxtaposition of what an empath is, which is a narcissist. They're almost denying that aspect of themselves, which leads them to being vulnerable and being open to take it, because they don't have that sense of, hey, this is actually me too. Like, I am me.
Yeah, be a little bit in love with your own self-image to a healthy degree, like half
Right.
narcissist, like 49%
Yeah.
narcissist. I don't know, but
Well,
we're going
it's
a little bit.
literally it's literally 50-50. It's literally 50% empath, 50% narcissist. Like, I am
Okay.
50% narcissistic. Am I not? Like, I have to be identified with my 50%. I'm AJ myself. I need to preserve this identity versus I am everybody else. So I also need to take that into consideration
Sure,
50% of the time. Like,
sure. Or you can be one third AJ, one third Jovan, and one third the global view.
and you could,
Uh,
well, I'm guessing you could change it considering whatever situation's in front of you at the time.
yeah, I feel we're drifting a little bit away from the curriculum,
Yeah.
so
Okay. So the next thing we have here is samadhi. What does that mean?
okay, so that's basically if you want to go into meditation and just dissolve the current construct of reality and then abide as nothingness, and then maybe you can also even go even beyond nothingness where there's something again like other reality constructs.
So is samadhi, what is samadhi the practice of going into the 0 point?
I guess samadhi. Okay, so how samadhi is
Like, what does the
explained
word mean?
traditional.
Yeah.
Samadhi is the experience of nirvana also. So it's just a different word. It comes from India, and the teachings of meditation would say, so first you start to meditate and you will experience the mind activity, and after some time the mind would cease, and then you would still experience subconscious and physical sensation, and then that would cease. Then your camera would detach from your body, and then you will go into samadhi, which is ultimately what we're talking about here when we're saying 0 point on nirvana. And this is a process that the Eastern tradition practice meditation, so you will dissolve who you are. That's what Buddha did under a tree or whatever, right? What we're trying to do is connect to 0 point, knowing that you are right now in that state of being, finding a bridge or a channel where you might know that, like in my sessions, people experience that perspective of self and full immersion or half immersion, because I like to keep them also grounded in the body, within a minute. So you don't need to dissolve yourself. And as I said, I did that because I did that without supervision or a teacher or master, whatever. Um, Creating a bridge to that samadhi. Then you can bring that samadhi here, or bring that nirvana quality of being here, and then you can color it with different moods or flavors, but you can always stay grounded with that.
Awesome. And then the last point we have is celebrating your personal power.
And that's really
is
just
that literally what you just said, coloring your game of life from this place?
coloring the game, just having fun with it wherever you go. And bringing also just playfulness and joy into your own experience, and then elevating whoever or wherever you're going. And being the author, being the creator, what would you choose that is lesser than enjoyment? The pleasure of just celebrating your here, your dream. You're dreaming yourself into existence, and you're making up stuff as you go. So it's an adventure, it's a game, and you want to have fun. Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, that pretty much covers everything from the introduction to celebrating everything that you will learn and experience within the Avatar Academy. So I guess that is good for now, and we hope to see more people inside. And as you said, it gets even better when people bring in new perspectives and ask questions. So we invite you to ask your questions, send us an email, and we'll be happy to answer. Or obviously, just join us inside the course. And yeah.
All right, I may add to this invitation that what we are setting up is a program where we want to see you guys and interact with you in a live way. And you can ask us any questions, and we're going to dive into 0 point, into that super presence, and just troubleshoot whatever you're experiencing. And you're going to find out that many of our human problems can be troubleshooted in an effortless way. So we're looking forward to some company, and please check in the links that we're going to put underneath this content if you want to check out what we have prepared, and join us there.
Yeah. That's
exciting. All right, thank you, AJ. Thank you, AJ.
And also just the podcast, if they want to just listen to other podcast episodes and just get a better feel of even my own transformation through talking to you or just whatnot. So there's lots of different things that they can do.
We got podcast called Views from the Void. Check it out. It's on Apple and Spotify. The links are in the description. Yeah.
Sweet.
Peace out.
Awesome. Yeah, see ya.
Thank you. Ciao.